Hey, what's going on, guys? Patriot Prime here once again with another episode of the SITREP. And I am proud to announce my guest for this evening's episode, the iconic Stan Bush. Stan, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing great. How's it going?
Going very well. Sitting back, relaxing, waiting for this impending snowstorm that we're supposed to get this weekend.
Oh, my.
Winter in West Virginia. What are you going to do? Well, first off, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me on the channel. As I said earlier, you have been a big part of my life since 1986. I have constantly listened to your music up until today. Your music is in my Jeep and I listen to on the way to work. So I really appreciate this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the support.
No, not a problem, sir. Now, for everybody watching, how this is going to work, like my normal sit reps, I have 10 questions here for Stan, though they're a little different than the questions I normally ask my viewers. So I'm going to go over my 10 questions, and then if we have any time left, I'll try to answer some questions that you guys may have in the chat. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. If you're ready, sir.
Yep.
All right, well, question number one. I have been a huge fan of yours since 1986 when I first heard you announce the arrival of Optimus Prime in Transformers the movie. What's it like being so well known for the song The Touch, even 35 years later? Well, I guess 36 years later now.
It's been a really cool ride. I mean, people tell me that song had an impact on their life, and really good stuff, positive stuff, maybe they were having a tough time of it, and the song helped them, in some way, inspire them or whatever. And anyway, it's very humbling to hear that stuff, and I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I told Stan earlier behind the scenes, when I first rolled into Baghdad, I had one little earpiece and I played The Touch as we crossed that border, just kind of psyching myself up. So, like I said, big part of my life. Now, question number two, most of my viewers know you from Transformers the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about where your career has taken you since then, and what is some of your proudest achievements?
Well, let's see. Around the time of The Touch, when we recorded that back in '86, there were a couple of other things I did. The first two Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, I sang 3 songs in each of those movies. Bloodsport and Kickboxer, and so those were some other stuff that I did that's still sort of getting people still know me from that stuff. And anyway, during the '90s and all up until now, I've been doing albums. I just released the newest one is number 14. So I've been Dare to Dream. That's it.
Upside down.
Looks good upside down too. Yeah. Anyway, during the '90s, of course, the rock music kind of imploded for a bit. The '80s rock stuff that I do sort of went away when the grunge thing came. But anyway, seems to be back in a big way. And what's cool is, how The Touch and the Transformers, it sort of became more of a bigger phenomenon later. It, there was like a resurgence of people into the whole Transformers thing, and of course the Bay films and all the other ones, and the latest one, Bumblebee, used The Touch again, and so that was pretty cool. But yeah, and then The Touch has been in a bunch of other stuff. Boogie Nights was Mark Wahlberg singing it. So anyway, yeah, a lot of good stuff. It's been a real cool ride. It's whenever I do a show, a concert, Europe or here in the States, I can't do a show without playing The Touch. That's the closer. That's and people love the song. It's a cool song. It's a great message, and it sort of started off a whole series of songs like that. I don't know. It almost became a calling for me to sing stuff that sort of helps maybe inspire, give hope. And of course, it's been a crazy past year for everyone. And, we need a little positivity, I think, in the world.
Oh, yes, sir. Cato's on here, and he just said, yes, they use the touch in the show The Goldbergs, too. So I've
Oh,
recently discovered that on Hulu. That is a great show.
yeah.
All right. That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. All right. Question number 3 kind of ties into what you just talked about. One of the things I love about your music is how uplifting and motivating it is. And of course, I already told you that about going into Baghdad. But with the uplifting sound that you do or you have, was that your plan when you started out, or did it just evolve that way?
It just kind of evolved that way. Like I said, the touch, a lot of things started happening for me around that time. People heard I started becoming known as a singer and did a lot of stuff in LA, commercials like Toyota trucks and Coors beer. I was doing a lot of big stuff back then and singing on other albums like, Alice Cooper and Jefferson Starship. Anyway, it was a pretty cool time, being called for a bunch of stuff. And there were like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of us rock singer guys, the beer voice, the big, that did most of the big commercials back then. But yeah, as far as the inspirational side, though, it's each album I've done since then, there's been 2 or 3 those kind of songs, and I don't know. I have this philosophy that each of us creates our own reality. I mean, we have more power, way more power than we ever realize. We can to make something happen and bring about good stuff in the world. And I don't know. I mean, I don't always get there, but it's something nice to aspire to. I think.
Definitely. What is Mythbusters? Adam Savage would always say, "I reject your reality and submit my own."
That's good.
All right. Question number 4. As a veteran, I really have to commend you for the song Unstoppable. Any artist who creates a song as a tribute to the troops gets my utmost respect. Did you have any particular motivation when doing that song?
Yeah, actually, my co-writer and friend, Lenny Macaluso, we wrote that one together. And it was inspired initially by the Boston bombing, actually, how people kind of came together and this sort of whole new spirit emerged from that tragedy, and it I don't know if you noticed in the music video for Unstoppable, there's people jogging, and that's in Boston, that little clip from that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that marathon. But yeah, it was Unstoppable was a really cool video because it was basically a statement about the country and how we've weathered so much together as a country. And I love this country, and I know you do too. And thanks so much for your service. I said that before, but I'll say it again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's just I think it's a great thing. I mean, to shout out, hey, America's a great place.
Definitely. We got to get that song on the air right now. we got to get everybody together again.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we unite, we really are unstoppable.
I will never forget September 12th. That was the day I was proudest to be an American. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing, the American flag flying everywhere, and it was just such a sense of unity. Like you said, we all came together with this tragic event, and I was so proud to be an American then. And now look at us now. I mean, we've got to come together. And that's one thing I got to commend the Transformers community for. I have met so many great people through those plastic robots back there, and nobody cares what your political beliefs are, where you come from, none of that. You like plastic robots, you're cool in my book.
No, you're exactly right. Some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life have been at the conventions, and people come up and they're just awesome people. I got to say that. I mean, just some of the most wonderful people. They have these, stories about things, and they say stuff like, soundtrack to my childhood and, different things. What I got a fan letter from a little kid one time, and he was young, obviously a kid, but he said something. He told me in the letter, he says, "You're my biggest fan." He had it backwards.
That's great. Okay, so you're losing myself. Oh, this one ties into something you just said. I'm glad you said this earlier. I am also a huge Alice Cooper fan. And so is my son Dylan. We actually took him to his first concert last November, and we took a 6-year-old, he was 5 then, to an Alice Cooper concert.
Awesome.
He was actually dressed as Alice. He had the makeup, the hat, leather jacket, and everything. You mentioned you performed with him. Do you remember what song or album that was?
It was on. It wasn't a performance, but it was singing on the album itself, the recording. And I don't remember which the title of the album, but it would have been late '80s, early '90s, probably.
That's probably when he got his resurgence, because I remember his Poison album came out.
Yeah.
With
the one with Wayne's World, was that it? I don't remember.
That was
the song
Hey
called
Stupid.
Centipede was on there. That song.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell me which album that is.
I'll go dig, and I've got his entire library right here on the computer.
He was very nice. He's a very, very good guy, real solid person. And I understand he's quite the golfer too. So I don't play golf. Yeah. But he was very nice to me.
Yeah, it was so funny. I mean, my son just absolutely loved Alice Cooper, and we had the opportunity to take him to a concert, and everybody thought we were nuts. Some people thought we were nuts, and some people thought we were the greatest parents ever.
Oh, right.
I'll send you a picture of him in his costume here later on. Okay. Moving on to question number 7. Now, my math may be wrong. I figured that this is your 12th solo album.
Let's see. There were 2 in the '80s. The first one was on CBS Records, and it just has my name. Then the second one was the Stan Bush and Barrage, which had the touch on there. And then I can name them all, but there were. The thing is, though, that it makes it a little bit sort of debatable. Is a couple of the albums during the '90s were sort of like collections or whatever, or compilations. So they weren't, they had songs that were already out on other records. So it was sort of wasn't like we recorded a new album from the ground up. And there were also one that was released in Japan that had a couple of different songs, but it had a different title than the one that released in the rest of the world. So, that kind of stuff. And that's why it's a little bit up in the air, but there should be 14. I have 12 listed on stanbush.com. And they're all available, of course.
I think that's where I got my information.
Oh, okay.
I've been researching you heavily.
No, the 2 that aren't on there are the first 2. And that's because I don't own the rights to those. That's why they're no. I mean, the rest of them I own the masters. So, that's why they're available on stanbush.com.
Excellent. Well, I totally lost what I was going to ask about this. Let's see. Oh, I was just going to say, what can you tell us about this one? This is your brand new album. As you can see, I got the autographed copy.
Yeah.
And this was just released in November, correct?
Yeah. It's brand new. Dare to Dream was written, most of it was in 2020. There were a couple of songs that were from the 2019, like the one of the songs called The 80s was a song about 80s rock, and that was released as a single in the summer of 2019. And it's the music video has my son as a young me in the video. And anyway, it's a song about 80s music and thinking back about being a kid and how music takes you back in time. So that's kind of how that song. And then later that year, there were a couple of other ones that I wrote and recorded. But nearly the whole album, the whole rest of the album was all written and recorded during the pandemic, which, it was the COVID thing was a bad thing and hard on a lot of people. And my heart goes out to everybody who suffered. But if there was one silver lining for me and my producer, that's all we did was work on the album for most of the year. So it was actually a good time creatively. I think some of the best songs I've ever written were from this past year. So real happy with the album. It's getting great reviews. It was named number 10 of the album of the year for album.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool to hear. And but yeah, Dare to Dream is the title track. Has a floating like a ship that's floating in through the air. anyways, kind of a surreal cover. But there's a kid, like a teenager guy, younger guy, standing on the hill or the mountain or the rock or whatever, looking up at this, dreamscape. Basically, he's dreaming this stuff, and it's also kind of goes into what we were talking about before, how whatever you can dream, or it's just like the song "Dream Big" is the same message, where you think of stuff that you want to achieve, like follow your dreams and reach for stuff, and you pretty much have a limitless potential as a human, when you dare to dream. I mean, it's just to be trying to be uncorny, but you know what I mean. It's like
well, it's funny. I told you earlier, we've been listening to that Dream Big a lot lately, and my son, he really likes it too. And I was telling him, because there's a line in about the father telling the son, dream big.
That's
and I
right.
was explaining to him, I said, don't let anything stop you. Go be whatever you want to be. He is so hardcore set on being an adventurer that owns a gummy bear factory. But, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, no, it's cool. That's the way we need to tell our kids, like all of my kids are college graduates and stuff. And so I couldn't be prouder. And it's just one of those things, that I think all of us, we want the best for our children and so forth. My kids are all grown now, but you know what I'm saying? I even have a grandbaby. She turned 1 year old 2 days before Christmas. So,
well, congratulations. My son was my 40th birthday surprise.
Oh, good. That's great.
I remember running into a friend of mine at the post office, and he was bragging about his daughter just going off to college. We graduated together. He's bragging about his daughter going to college. And I was like, well, my son did something good too. And he said, what? He said, learn to walk.
Oh, yeah. So,
well, I did not share my questions with you whatsoever, but my question number 8 was, I have to tell you, the 80s has become one of my favorite songs. I listen to it almost daily since it was first released. What can you tell us about that song? And you've already answered that.
Yeah. It's hard when you don't know what the questions are coming, not to spoil the thing. But yeah, it's like I say, I think a little bit of that was maybe partially inspired by the summer of '69, because, that's, Bryan Adams, great song, by the way. That was one of the best songs ever. But that's about looking back and, when they were kids, and, it's just like I say, the music, just like a time machine, it takes you back. And the other thing in the music video I didn't mention, I rented a VW bus because that's what my son and a couple of buddies that have a band in the video, they were and a hot girl, they were like in the VW bus, and it was like, kind of like looking back. I mean, I had one of those in high school. So,
I've got an interesting story about a VW bus. When I was growing up, my mom and dad, they both had a Beetle. Dad had a blue and mom had a yellow one, Bumblebee. And then they had the VW bus. And in the mid 70s, my car seat was a playpen bolted to the floor of that VW bus. So I'm just bouncing around like a pinball.
That's great. Yeah, my dad made it into a camper. He built a little thing on top that pops up, a tent kind of thing. And it's funny because a couple of years after he made that, and we went up camping in the mountains, North Carolina. A couple of years after that, that's when VW came out with a camper van that had very similar design to what he came up with. So that was pretty cool. He kind of built it himself. So, he did build it. So it was awesome. Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Now, talking about the 80s, we were talking about the song, the 80s, and I don't have this question down, but I actually thought of it after I wrote everything. Okay. Another thing I love so much about your music, it maintains that 80s sound. I mean, you listen to Dare to Dream, and then you pop in the Transformers movie soundtrack. The music it's the same. It has that same, I guess, tempo, if you will. And I love that. Is that something also that you're just like, hey, I am an 80s guy, and that's what I'm going to stick with?
Pretty much.
I love that, because I'm sitting there. I listen to this at work too, and they're like, "Oh, is that an old song?" No, that's a brand new song, but it just has that 80s kick. And I love anything 80s.
My producer, he's an 80s child too, you know, guy, my best friend, he grew up in Germany, but he's been in America for a long time, but he's just amazing. The guy plays guitar great, and he's a great studio engineer and plays keyboards and everything. So he and I work together, but he's quite talented. So he helps put those tracks together. And like, you know, I was talking with a buddy of mine that, you know, if you did tracks like of that quality back then, you would have spent $100,000 doing a record like this, you know. And anyway, but you know, home studios, you can do stuff cheaper now. And but he's got, you know, he's really, if you know what you're doing, and he does. He's very talented. So.
Now you're talking about the home studios in the video of the 80s. I know it looks like you're singing in a garage or a basement. And then you look back at Unstoppable, it looks like you're singing outside your garage. So you do a lot of that at home?
Yeah, well, the 80s, I'm sorry, the Unstoppable video, that was just outside at a place out in the country. And it was kind of like a barn in the background. And the one, we did a sound stage. It was 2 locations. The sound stage was where we were performing, but we had like rented gear. And I did a newer music video. Maybe that's the next question you're going to ask me about for Netflix. And this was very recently, and it came out in the end of November. Called it's the song "Born to Fight," and it's to promote their 2 most popular anime shows, Baki and Kengan Ashura. And the song's "Born to Fight," and it was the final song for the album. But Netflix reached out to me and asked if I could write a song for them for this promotion. And Lenny and I, my guy co-wrote the touch, we came up with the song "Born to Fight" and recorded it, and they loved it. And they did a music video with me, and then clips from the cartoon series, you know, those 2 I mentioned it's like ultimate fighting kind of stuff. And but it's animated. And,
it's a really cool video. It's right on stanbush.com. That's the one right at the top right now.
Correct. Yes.
And number 1, that's the first song on the album.
Yeah, it's a great power track. But thank you.
All right. Question number 9, real quick one. You have any plans to tour once the pandemic ends, if ever?
Yeah, I mean, I've been approached by some places in Europe, Spain, also Germany, about doing some stuff to see how things go. But hopefully this summer we'll be getting some shows going. It all depends on how quickly, you know, everything bounces back. Now that we have the vaccines, and they're going to be, you know, hopefully within a few months it'll be opened up again, back to pretty much normal, I'm hoping.
So, no kidding. I'm very proud of my state. We've been rocking with the vaccines. We're not going by the federal guidelines. We're just utilizing each county's health departments, and we're rocking. We have all of our nursing home clients. Every one of those is inoculated. My wife works higher education. She's got inoculated. So we're rolling. So I'm hopeful for the future as far as that's concerned.
That's great. That's excellent.
All right. My last question before we start going into the audience. This is one just for me. Big part of your career is these plastic robots. Do you yourself have a Transformers collection?
Not really. I have a few upstairs, and still in their boxes, and that have been given to me at conventions and whatnot. But no, I'm not really a collector.
Well, that's what I said one day.
My house is too small. I don't even have. I got like 3 guitars, and that's it. A lot of guys I know have like 30 of them or something. I've never collected things. I'm not a collector type of person, really. I have what I need, and that's it. Yeah,
it's funny. So many times I'll think about it. I've got all this stuff over here. It just sits there, but I wouldn't get rid of it now for nothing. Especially now I know a little one's downstairs just drooling, waiting at the chance to get those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wraps up my questions. I know I wanted to keep this short. We didn't want to go too long with this interview, and I'm going to go into the chat now. And if anyone has any questions for Stan, first off, I'm going to apologize if I missed some of you guys, but now's the time to ask. Cato just said that you don't collect Transformers, you collect fans.
Oh, that's really nice. That's great.
All right, let's see what we have here. There we go. We love you, Stan.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Love you too.
I think how this works, it takes a while for them. They'll comment on YouTube, and it takes a while to jump over on here. Oh, here we go. What guitars does Stan Bush use?
Well, I have a PRS. It's actually the Korean model that's cheaper, and it's just as good as the PRS, pretty much, that you would buy for for $2,000, and you can get it for $600. I have that, and I have a Strat. And then my acoustic guitar is my main thing. I mean, I bought it new in '76, and it's an amazing sounding guitar. I write all my songs on it. It's a Martin, an older Martin. So, yeah.
Nice. Here we go. This is going back to the anime again, where I just lost it. Oh, here we go. These things move by so fast. Do you remember the song you did for Sailor Moon back in the 90s?
Oh, yeah. She's got the power. Yeah, that's it's funny because a lot of people ask me about that. They say, "Oh, you sang Sailor Moon?" Yeah, it was one of those things that kind of called me at the spur of the moment, and I went in and sang on the Sailor Moon. It was like a soundtrack album, and anyway, but yeah.
You know, when I was first collecting or buying music for myself, my own money, I always bought soundtracks because I could always get a variety of music. Let's see. Might know the answer to this one. Who's your favorite Transformers character?
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. Nice. Oh, this is nice right here. You're an inspiration to not just me, but to everyone. Keep being awesome.
Oh,
my sentiments exactly.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Here's someone asking, do you keep in contact with Peter Cullen?
I've met him several times over the years, and he's always been incredibly nice, at the conventions and so forth. But I don't know him well, but he's always been really nice when I've met him. So when I see him.
I lost it again. Somebody was asking about Cobra Kai. Here it is. I just started watching that show. That's a great 80s throwback show.
A cool show. Yeah, I like it too.
Just wrapped up season 1 myself. Have you been approached to write any music for Cobra Kai since they deal with so many 80s songs?
No, but I'd love to. Hopefully that'll happen at some point.
Yes, that's Netflix. I mean, come on, Netflix.
I know, right? Yeah. I might see about that, see if I can pursue something on that line. But
let's see. Oh, here's the flip side of the coin. Who's your favorite Decepticon?
Oh, wow. I don't know, honestly. Sorry. I don't really have an answer.
See, that you played that well. That way you don't offend anybody who's, a Megatron fan, Starscream fan.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I can say one quick thing, and that's something's coming up very soon in the next week or so. And just be watching. It's going to involve what we've been talking about. And
nice.
Just check.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep. Yeah. Just check stanbush.com and you'll see. It's involving Netflix, and anyway.
Nice. Let's see here. Who is your favorite band to tour with?
Oh boy, I don't know. I think one of my favorite bands is back in the day was the original Foreigner, the early Foreigner stuff. That stuff's great, and I don't know. It's kind of I don't know too many modern bands that, but I really I've always liked Zeppelin and the Eagles.
Can't go wrong with them.
Yeah, that's right. Just a lot of stuff.
Now here's somebody asking, do you own any Transformers T-shirts? He almost put one on for the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost did. I got a few of them.
All right, here we go. There's Rodimus Primal's on here, making sure that everybody knows to go to stanbush.com to pick up this album.
Oh, that's great.
Great guys. I've met all these guys through YouTube. It's blown my mind. Like I said, this community is great. Now we're at the 30-minute mark, and I promised you we would end this at 30 minutes, and we're going to do that. So you can go and spend some time with your family and have dinner. Once again, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I am just humbled that you came on my little channel, and it just made my night. Like I said, you've been a big part of my life since I was 11 years old.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the support. Really do.
Oh, not a problem. And as I always say in my videos, does a copy of Dare to Dream belong in your collection? Absolutely. stanbush.com. That's where you can find it. It's also on Amazon or any other online media retailer, from what I can tell. Great CD. All the songs are top notch. I've been listening to this constantly since I bought it. So check it out, guys. You are not going to be disappointed. And Stan, thank you once again for coming on the show.
All the best. Thank you now. Take care.
Right. And guys, I appreciate you all in the chat for checking me out. This is Patriot Prime signing out. Hooah!
Take care. See you later.